Cage Side Press, July 20th, UFC return to Las Vegas, and Cody Gibson bringing it back for another fight. Cody, how we doing ahead of the fight?
Doing well. We're still a ways out, so you know, I'm trying not to. I don't know. I have a tendency when I get fight news to like ramp it up right away. Like all right, we gotta go. We gotta start. Pushing the pace every day and all. And so I'm trying not to allow myself to do that. Like, hey, ease your way into the camp. Like yeah, we have intense sessions, but yeah, just trying to pull back the reins a little bit. So yeah, it's been good so far.
You done school yet, or you still got that to focus on as well?
Yeah, this is our last week, and I actually had the last 2 weeks off work, um, and I took a couple weeks off to train, to focus on training, but also to be with my newborn and take advantage of the great state of California. One of the only things the great state of California does provide us is some time off with our babies. So um, I went out to Vegas, got some stem cells. I trained at Xtreme Couture and did all the diagnostic testing at the PI for the week. And then last week I just trained, but was around a little bit more available for my wife to breathe because this guy is clingy, man.
Yeah.
So our kids are 4 years apart, all three of them. So we always every time we just forget everything, and then like have to like relearn it, be like, oh yeah, I kind of remember this phase. And so yeah, it was nice. Today was my first day back to work, but I got 4 days left, and then the rest of the camp I get to just solely focus on the fight. So that was one of the big takeaways from my last fight. I tried to do the balancing act of like work and training for a UFC fight, and it wasn't that I couldn't do it, but I felt like if there was one area where I really neglected, it was any sort of like because of just time was just recovery. Like I don't have time to do a ton of recovery stuff or to go stretch and roll out for an hour, and like give yourself or put those things in your schedule.
Right.
I just didn't have the time to do it, so I just kind of like put my head down and trudged through. And so I'm trying to, be able to focus more of this fight on the fight and not work and be preoccupied with that stuff. So I'm excited to be able to give a better performance this next time around.
I was gonna say, I'm glad you're getting done school because you've been new daddy, school, and training. So I'm glad to hear that'll kind of start to settle down. You can really hone in on camp and everything for the summer. But you're talking about recovery. You mentioned stem cells, the shoulder injury. We're good to go because you made that post in what, like April? I don't know how the recovery time is, but going to be good to go for July.
Oh yeah, they the UFC got me set up with stem cells in Vegas, and
Gosh.
my second time getting stem cells. I had them on the show actually in my knee. Um, Different circumstances, obviously having a fight so soon after. This one, after my last fight, I had my shoulder was kind of bugging. My shoulders are always,
I
like
feel
I've
you.
had,
I know how it is.
yeah, they just, you beat them up every day and they're going to take some wear and tear. And so I've always had I had labrum surgery on my left shoulder in 2019. And I learned how extensive of a recovery that is.
Mm.
Like it's a long process to get back to 100%. So um, I was trying to avoid that at all cost. And so yeah, the stem cells and the tears in my right shoulder, the orthopedic surgeon told me, I don't have to have surgery. If I wanted to, I could, but as long as the shoulder was stable, then it's really just about pain management. And but yeah, it's already feeling better since the stem cells, which I got, or I guess it's been about 2 weeks now, almost 2 weeks. So yeah, I'm having less pain in my shoulder, and so yeah, man, I'm fortunate that the UFC's opening the doors to those sorts of things.
Yeah, that's sick, man. I hear stem cell is the way to go if you can get it done. So that's great, man. And then you mentioned Xtreme Couture. Obviously, Sean Strickland, big win a few nights ago now. So how was it training down there, especially like amidst the peak of Sean Strickland fight camp?
Yeah, they kind of break up their. I saw Sean in the gym quite a few times,
It's
but
huge, right?
yeah, and actually Sean, way back in the day, I'm talking over a decade ago. I don't know who the guy is that's kind of like his father figure, mentor. I don't think it's his dad, but it's a guy who's been with him forever, and he's usually in the cage with him as a cornerman. He's an older guy. He used to drive him up and down the state of California, training at different gyms. So he used to. I mean, I came from a small gym in the Central Valley, a jiu-jitsu gym predominantly is where I started, and yeah, he used to come in there. He used to go to Dethrone in Fresno, which was kind of like a subsidiary to AKA at the time. They had a bunch of like they were paying like a ton of these D1 wrestlers that were in Bellator at the time to live and train at Dethrone in Fresno. So they had like Ed Ruth was there and a bunch of Darren Wynn and there's just a bunch of Josh Koscheck back then was there, but there was a bunch of D1 wrestler guys there. So I'd always go up and spar. And I'd see Sean there. He'd pop into a jiu-jitsu class. He would just travel up and down the state, popping into different gyms.
That's
And he
sick.
was like quiet and young, and like other than like, oh, this guy's a fighter, that was what I knew of him at the time. Like, so train with him, like,
Yeah.
but because the jiu-jitsu gym was a lot of just jiu-jitsu people, so they're like, oh, here's a fighter, he's coming in, keep train with him, and so yeah, I don't know him like all that well, other than a little bit of training, but yeah, he's always a character in the gym, and from what I saw, he is, and but they kind of break it up with the little guys in one practice and the bigger guys in another. So, but I got a lot of good sparring in with a bunch of different UFC level guys and a couple guys in my weight class, which was a little interesting. But no, yeah, that's what I felt like. I love my team here in California, but we don't have a huge team and we don't have a lot of high level pros. I feel like my coaches are really dialed in and know their stuff and have our pro fighter have been retired pro fighters. Um, but being able to mix it up with other guys, and I think it's for me, it's just a confidence thing. Like, hey, don't forget, like you can go with the best guys and
Yeah.
hang and have success. And so for me, I went out to Vegas for 1 week to do all that, and then I'm going back June 16th for a couple more weeks to utilize the PI too. Like they got a
Wow.
strength and conditioning coach I'm working with, and when I'm there, I'm training with him, and then when I'm home, he sends us our plans, and my strength coach here just kind of just implements them. So it's been nice, the nutritional side of things, learning a lot about nutrition, and not that I ever don't, not that I've never made weight, but having more energy throughout the camp, is something that I'm all for. So, kind of working with a nutritionist and the PT people and just getting worked on every day, just like you really do feel like a professional athlete when you go to the PI and you're spending, the free food. I mean, you save so much money just because you get all your food for free,
Yeah.
like it's pretty remarkable. It makes sense why so many guys are moving to Vegas, like to utilize those resources. So I'm gonna try. I have no intention of moving to Vegas. I actually hate Vegas, but I definitely plan on. It's only about a 6.5 hour drive, so I definitely plan on continuing to. And I have a free place to stay there. My buddy's got a place there that he
Clutch.
Airbnbs, and his parents actually live in it now, but they let me crash there, and so it's a good situation for me. And this next time I'm going out for a longer period of time, but I'm flying out and then renting a car for a week, and then my family's driving out so I can drive them home, and then they're gonna spend the second week with me there. And of course, I'll still be training, but I'm gonna, we're at this point in my life and career, it's like we got to make our vacations kind of around these fight camps, especially in the
Yeah.
summer. So I got a nice Airbnb uh, with a pool and a hot tub right by the PI for a week, so it should be good.
Dude, so Petrosky, who a middleweight UFC fighter, we got a kid.
Yeah, my
Hey,
oldest
kid.
just walked in.
Hey, oldest. Yeah, Petrosky, who's UFC fighter out of Philly. He was on
Yeah,
top
yeah.
29. Anytime he's like the PI gets mentioned, he's like, yeah, I love going to the PI. It's great there, man. You get that free, like top level, top notch equipment. So that's cool, man. It's a nice facility.
And the recovery stuff they have there from the sauna, the ice bath. I mean, yeah, it's just they make it really easy on us. And the people that work there, I don't know how much they're getting paid, but they need to be getting paid more because they just give it, that they're really about it, And so yeah, I'm trying to utilize these resources the best I can.
And no need to hear like results or any backstage gym stories, but who are you working with your size from the UFC at Xtreme Couture?
The guys I sparred, there was a couple up and comers that I worked a lot with. And I follow them on Instagram now, but I can't remember their names off the
I
top of
didn't
my
mean to
head. But
put you on the spot. No worries.
no, but I sparred with Saeed Nurmagomedov.
Nurmagomedov?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah.
He throws a lot of spinning stuff and side
Yeah.
kicks and stuff, and so it was fun to move around with him. And then that other kid, he's a French kid. He's got like dreadlocks. He's newer. He's only had like 2 UFC fights. He's the one who
Yeah.
got fight of the night with that liver kick, his first
Yeah.
UFC fight.
I'm embarrassed.
He
I'm
has like
forgetting his name.
colored dreads. They're
I know
like
exactly what
colored.
you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, Sharot. Some of the CH.
I'm trying to be a good journalist and look it up, and my internet's not loading, so this is just bad. It's all right. I'll look it up by the end of the interview. But no, that's cool, man. I mean, those are top level guys. So yeah, to get that work in, that is great. And I don't really want to talk about last fight too much here, but I do want to know, like, when we talked, your opponent was Davy Grant, and then weeks later, Miles John. Like, how much did that mess you up? Like, I don't know. Did you really hate having to deal with a short notice, or was it more so you just weren't happy with your performance? Like, what are your thoughts?
No, I don't think Miles Johns was obviously a change of opponent and styles a little bit, but Davies a super dynamic guy with a lot of awkward striking from weird angles and a lot of weapons. And when we looked at Miles, we were like, if there was a big overhand right, he's strong, little buff, compact guy, good wrestler. Um, but there wasn't like a whole lot of strategy to that. It was like avoid the overhand right, try to touch him up from distance. If you get in wrestling exchanges, get in wrestling exchanges, you're a wrestler too. And it really wasn't Miles Johns. It was just I've never really had a fight where I just felt like I just didn't show up. I just and I after the fight, my brothers and some of my friends who had come out to Vegas to watch it, they didn't tell me this before the fight, of course, but they were like, "Yeah, man, I don't know what it was, but this whole week just you didn't seem quite as like into it. Like usually I'm like shadow boxing and pacing around the whole week, and like I know I'm about to go to war, so I'm just like in a mindset and I don't know, man. I felt fine. Like even in the back warming up, I felt good. But then we went out there and I just feel like I just didn't really perform to my potential. Um, and I just didn't have a great performance, And I've had fights where I've had, bad performances before, but never where I felt like I really just didn't show up. And so for me, it was a lot of just sitting down, like, well, listen, dude, like, be real with yourself. You're back in the UFC. You spent this much time to get back here. You don't want to just wash out, and have it go 0-2 or 0-3 or something, and they cut you again, and then that's your career. I mean, so for me, this fight is important because I want to stick around for a few more years and have some performance bonuses and have some fun fights. And you got to win fights to do that. So um, I've never lost 3 in a row, so I've lost 2 in a row now. And so for me, I'm trying to cross every T and dot every I and make sure I'm as dialed in as I can, and then just making sure I show up with the right mindset. I think back to my career and a lot of my fights throughout my career and where I was at with my mind, and I feel like I have like when I show up to fight week, like I'm there to hurt someone, like like as bad as that sounds, like that's the mentality I usually walk into fight week with. Even if I like my opponent, like I think he's a good guy, like I'm there to, he's not, I don't like you until the final bell rings or my hand is raised or whatever. Um, and so I just feel like I need to get back to that. I need to go in with like that, I'm about to go to war and I'm going to die in here if I have to get my hand raised. And, yeah, man, I know I have the tools to be successful in the octagon. I just got to put it together, and, that's the plan this fight, man. Just let myself be free, um, and just have fun and do me. Like you want to have strategy and be smart, but at the same time, like you are who you are. Like Paulo Costa actually was saying this kind of similar kind of thing after he lost last week. He was like, "Man, I need to just be me out there and go out there and this is who I am. This is what kind of a fighter I am, and I need to do that." And I feel it very similar. Like I need to be me, and what that means is a forward pressure, a lot of volume, drown you with cardio kind of fighter, and that's what I need to bring back this next fight.
And before I actually ask you about Brian and the next fight, well, first of all, actually, Morgan Charrier. Forgot
There
the
it
Frenchman's
is.
name. There you go. Internet. Beautiful thing. Easy to look up. So I knew who you're talking about. Anyways, moving on. Before I ask you about Brian, I am curious because, like I said, last time we talked, it was Davey Grant. And you said how excited you were for that fight and that matchup. So you don't need to get super far into it. But do you want that fight still maybe someday?
Yeah, I think that would be a fun fight. I know the reason he had backed out of the fight is a neck injury that was pretty severe. So I don't know, and he's getting up there in age, so I don't know if he's gonna come back. But if he does, I would love to be on the other side of the cage from him because I do feel like our styles would make for a very fun and entertaining fight. So, and that's what I'm here to do. I have no illusions about, I mean, anything can happen in the sport, but I mean, what are my actual goals at this point in my career? It's to get performance bonuses, to have fun fights that people talk about, and I think Davey would definitely bring that out of me. So, yeah, if he does come back, hopefully, sooner than later. I don't know what his recovery's like, but that's definitely a fight I would. And plus, you train for a guy for weeks and weeks and weeks, and you watch hours and hours of film, and you break things down, and then for it not to happen. That actually happened to me with John Dotson originally too. I was supposed to fight John Dotson, and he got pulled out of the fight. It was in a car accident, and pulled out of the fight, and I was so bummed because I'd studied so much, and then we were able to rebook it and fight later down the line. And it was nice because it was like, all right, I've done all this prep. Yeah, let's make it happen. So yeah, that's definitely one I'd like to get back down the road.
And then, I mean, now let's talk about Brian. You've been posting something to prove. That's been like the motto. You've just talked about that a couple minutes ago here. I love this fight. It's an exciting vet versus an exciting vet. No, I just think it's a good fight for both of you guys and for the fans, as you are talking about, is maybe most important. So, how do you look at Brian Kelleher? What are your thoughts on him?
He's really well rounded from what I see. Like he's got pretty good striking. He's got some interesting things he does on his feet. And he's a good grappler, decent wrestler. Uh, he seems to either submit people or get submitted when he's on the ground. Like he's got a lot of submissions, and he's got a good front choke for sure. But he also gets submitted a lot. So it'll be interesting. Like I love the fights where there's there's like a degree of like unknown. Like who's gonna be the better grappler? Like let's find out because you don't know until you're in there. So that's exciting for me. I think he's a guy who does bring it and wants a good fight and doesn't go away easy. I think Cody Garbrandt was the first guy. I could be wrong, but he might be the only guy to finish him, or he hasn't been knocked out that many times. He's been submitted quite a few times, but
he's got a chin.
Yeah, he's got a chin. He's not going to quit. He's going to keep fighting hard, and yeah, I think it's going to make. I don't know what to expect, and that like unknown is kind of exciting because you're not sure how things are going to go in stand up or how things are going to go on the ground and all that sort of stuff. So we're formulating a pretty good game plan, I think, about some of the things he does really well that we could try to avoid, and then some of the things that we see weaknesses where we could try to exploit. But at the end of the day, like, it's a fight, you know. You're gonna get in, you're gonna start feeling each other, and you're gonna figure out real quick, you know, where you're at with this guy. Are you better than him or not? You're gonna find out. So for me, it's just exciting, and I'm not super stoked to be back in Vegas at the Apex.
You get to bring
There are
people
some,
this time though, right?
huh?
You get to bring people this time though, right? Like a family.
Last time was the first time they did that. My last fight was the
Okay,
first
okay,
event
okay.
they allowed that, and they didn't tell us prior to the event. They told us when we arrived, and I had a bunch of people coming to just watch it at a bar. There was like, I think I had like 7 or 8, or maybe even more than 10 people there, friends. And you know, anytime you go to Vegas, everyone, your mom comes. You know, like everybody wants to have an excuse to go to Vegas. So this time we'll have a group again, and yeah, there are things about it that are nice. Like, you could definitely tell that the UFC has things really dialed in um, at the Apex. But I love a crowd, man, and I love the energy of one. And you know, I did fine on the show in the Apex, but I definitely felt like there was a lack of energy on my part in my last fight, and it could have had partially been a result of the Apex. But I gotta pump myself up, man. I need to slap myself a few times in the back and get myself geared up. And I was even telling my coaches, like, hey, I might want to spar a little bit, you know, going into the fight, even if it's like 70%.
Yeah.
We're just popping each other and moving and sticking and moving and just kind of getting that engine revved up before we get in there. Because, and I've never done that before. I know some fighters that talk about they like to spar right before they fight. Um, but I think it's something I might try this time. My striking coach is a friend of mine named Castle Williams, really good kickboxer, and he's had some ACL tears the last couple of years, and same knee twice, and hasn't fought in quite a few years. He's trying to make a comeback, but he's back and training with me, and he'll be in my corner. So I'm like, yeah, I got a good guy to spar with, because I don't like hitting. And my head coach is Antonio Benuelos, and I love, and he was a great fighter for the WEC and Dream and UFC a little bit too, but I don't really like to hit him in the face, to be honest with you.
Understandable. I get it. No,
I just, yeah.
that's good though, man. That's good that you're gonna have someone actually do that with you before the fight, and I think that's crazy that you guys do that before the fight. But I love it. That's just I get it too. You know, you gotta warm yourself up. But I think the Apex crowd will be a little more hype. I feel like they'll be getting a little more hype every time.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's cool that family gets to come in now. You know, you get five tickets that they escort them in for the fight, and they escort them out. But that's pretty cool. I was gonna bring my wife and kids because my kids have never been to one of my fights, but looking at the logistics with the baby and my wife having to get on a plane with all these
Yeah.
car seats and everything, and or drive, and so instead of doing that, they're just gonna come out while I'm training out there and just do a little vacationing. And so yeah, it'll be good. My parents will be there though, my brothers. So uh, we're excited. You know, I know that I need to win this fight, and so I'm putting everything I can into it to show up, and just as long as I show up and perform like I know I can perform. Like, obviously I want to win, and I'll do anything I can in my power to win. But I think that was the biggest setback, or the biggest, like, um I guess just like mental, like, what the hell, was that I just don't feel like I performed, you know. And like that was the first time in my career. I've had some performances that weren't great, but that was like the one where I was like, I didn't even show up. Like, I wasn't even like me. And so for me, it's just trying to right that wrong. And like you said, something to prove is kind of my motto for this fight. My inner voice is, you know, I always like to perceive the world in a way that I'm the underdog. You know, like that's the way I perceive things, is that I'm the underdog. And coming off 2 losses, and you know, people point to my age all the time. Oh, he's getting older and yada yada. It's like, now I got something to prove, and I feel like that's when my back's against the wall is sometimes when I perform my best. So, and I feel like I have a dance partner who's going to be fun to fight, and
Yeah.
yeah, so it should be fun.
You got time for 2 more quick questions?
Oh yeah,
All right, awesome. Good, because the first one is actually a small bone I got to pick with you. Last
all
time,
right.
you said you consider it. I don't know if you considered it. If you did, that's good enough, but you didn't end up making it happen. Do you know what I'm going to say?
No.
Lunatic Fringe. Walkout.
Oh, this
Do we get it this
lunatic
time?
friend. All right, that's my walkout song.
You making it official? Lunatic Fringe by Red Rider?
Yeah,
Or maybe it's Red Rider by Lunatic Fringe, or is it Lunatic? No, it's Lunatic Fringe by Red Rider. Yeah,
lunatic.
official.
Yeah, official.
All
I
right,
needed a new one anyway because I never walk out to the same song twice if I lose. Like if I lose a fight, that's the last time that I ever walk
good.
out to
Get
the.
it out of here. Bring in Lunatic Fringe. Let's go.
So, and I was on a nice little run with Bad Moon Rising by Credence.
Great song. Yeah.
I was on a nice little run, but it finally ended. So um so yeah, I gotta get a new one. So Lunatic Fringe it is.
Well, breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Cody Gibson is walking out to Lunatic Fringe by Red Rider from Vision Quest, obviously. So awesome. That got me very excited. Tell my wife too. I'm gonna go wake her up after this. Don't you worry. But Cody, last question for me now. Today was supposed to be this Dublin press conference for McGregor, Chandler, the head coaches of your tough season. Canceled. My 2 questions here, a 2-parter. 1, is this fight going to happen? 2, if it does happen in less than a month, who's taking it?
I mean, I hope it happens.
Me too.
I don't understand the mystery around why it was canceled unless it was something that could impact the fight.
That's what I'm saying.
Like if it was like a logistics thing, like arena problems, or we put this together too quick and there's some logistical problems, then they would just come out and say that. They'd be like, hey, we have some, and they would be a little bit more specific. The fact that they're being so ambiguous about it to me means that something's up that they don't want out of the bag, and that something could be a potential fight ending kind of thing, whether it be an injury or whatever. If Connor's injured and doesn't want to be seen on a stage limping around or in a sling or who knows what, so I hope that's not the case. I hope the fight, they've waited long. Chandler's waited long enough. It's like if they try to postpone it or push it, that's pretty rough for him. I think he would still, take it. I think
Yeah.
if they took it and said, okay, it's gonna be 3 months later, he'd be like, all right.
He's not going anywhere, man. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, he's put in this much time for this payday, and I think he earned it, and he's gonna get it. As far as who's gonna win, obviously I'm rooting for Mike, but Conor McGregor is Conor McGregor, and if he can show even 70% of his old form, stylistically, it's a good matchup for him because you're dealing with a stocky wrestler who swings big, explodes forward with 4 or 5 punches. And Connor's really good at timing that. We've seen it time and time again. So, stylistically, but and that, Connor hasn't fought in 3 years and he's coming off this crazy injury and all these other variables that are at play. That is it going to be the same guy that gets in there? Even if it's the guy that got in there with Poirier, like I think Chandler's got a pretty good shot against that guy.
Yeah,
I
agree.
He didn't look all that great in that fight. He got worked pretty easily. So we'll see what kind of. I think it all depends on what kind of Conor McGregor shows up, and then you have the videos coming out about him partying, and you're like, is that recent or what's going on here? And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
I hope Mike puts him out, man. That's what I hope. I'm not a big fan of Conor McGregor. I know he's done a lot for the sport, and people love him to death. A lot of people do. I get a lot of hate mail for my interactions with him and not being a big fan of his. But at the end of the day, like my morals and ethics don't allow me to be a Conor McGregor fan. And as a man looking at another man, I can't respect him. So, I'm rooting for Mike 100%. And even though Mike's going hard right, man, he's going all in on Trump, and I'm a little disappointed in that. But
hey, man, that's just kind of the nature of the UFC right now.
I know, but it's just like, hey man, Colby's already done this. Like,
Yeah, and now
you know,
Strickland,
like,
getting that selfie last weekend and everything.
yeah, but I mean the selfies or whatever, that isn't, I mean,
It's
but
just the
it's like
going
when they
in.
go, it's like going all in, like I'm gonna put it out there that, and I mean, I know Mike pretty well. I don't think he thinks about politics too often, so I'll just leave it at that. And but yeah, I was a little bummed. I was like, come on, man, I don't love that. And I'm like the only leftist in the MMA space, so
Not the only
uh,
leftist. Hey man,
I don't know. I don't know
I
many.
well, I don't know if there's
Well,
many
no,
either.
journalists for sure.
Yeah,
But I'm
there's a
talking
lot of
about
left wing journalists.
fighters.
I'm sure there's more than just you, but no, I agree. The majority is definitely it's a right leaning sport and atmosphere.
It's been interesting to see how the UFC is kind of like really gone hard into it,
They have, man.
Like I wonder like at what board meeting at Endeavor or TKO or something they're like, you know what? This will be good for our brand.
I feel like it has to do with, sponsorships and whoever's funding. I feel like it's whoever they like, UFC's got to like. It's all politics, bro. You know how it is. And from UFC to school to actual politics, it's all politics.
Yeah.
And Cody, we're running short on time here on my end. We were making fun of long interviews before this, and we're going a half hour, but I love it personally. My last thing I need from you. Actually, let me just comment on this Connor thing one more time, just because another fun fact. They still haven't fought yet, and Tough 32 starts tomorrow. Just putting that out there real quick, and then I'm moving on. It's crazy. But before we get out of here, Cody, quick message for all your fans and support network. We have about 2 or 3 minutes left, so keep it a little short, but do your thing. Mike is yours.
Yeah, man, just my team here. I want to thank also Extreme Couture and Eric Nixick at Extreme. He's been like super welcoming to me. Um, and my management, Sucker Punch, Brian at Sucker Punch, kind of got me set up there, and my team here at home that they continue to pour themselves into me and watching film and doing all the things. It is true. I mean, I know it's an individual sport, but there's a team aspect to this, and I think just gratitude toward the people in your life that that help you do the things you do. Um, so yeah, man, that's all. And then of course my wife and my family. Like my wife, she's put up with a lot over the last 17 years being involved in this sport, and now we've got a third baby. And she was telling me the other day, she was like, your last fight camp, I was 8 months pregnant.
Oh, nice.
And this fight, and then you turn around and have a quick turnaround. I think I had 3 weeks before I found out about this fight. And so she was like, now we've got a newborn and you're going into another fight camp. And my only reply is, I'm getting old. I need to have as many fights as I can.
Gotta get this money in, man. Come on.
Yes.
Well, hey, man, I love it. I'm excited for this fight, and I'm sure you are too, especially to get that W and then enjoy your freaking summer afterwards. But, ladies and gentlemen, July 20th, Cody Gibson's going to be walking out to Lunatic Fringe, getting that W and making some call outs on the mic. Cody, my man, thank you very much for the time. Go enjoy your evening with your family. Have a great rest of camp. Kick some ass, all right?
All right, man. Good talking to you as always. Take care, Jake.